Rocky's inside. The sun is in the process of going down. I'm getting more and more done here with this. Getting everything apart here. You can see Rocky's in there. I've cleaned up this fiberglass piece that I cut out of my truck bed because I want to use it as a work area. I'm going to build it's the top basically of a cabinet type deal. Oh, anyway, let's go for a walk just so we can say we did. I've been wanting to reply to a comment made by a subscriber, but Facebook's bad for it too, but YouTube will not publish my response. So I'll respond here. This particular subscriber said that if it was her being denied medical care, that she'd think that it would be worth my while to wear a mask to save my life. My response to that was basically that, going to the old Bible, a passage about a man gaining the world but losing his eternal soul. There's a Bible passage to that effect about what does it benefit a man if he gains the world but loses his eternal soul. And that's quite pretty there, eh? Very nice. Anyway, I think you'd have to understand my beliefs with regard to what happened between 2020 and 2022, 2023, in that era, with a certain thing that they tried to use to take away civil rights and to nullify constitutional rights and so on. Basically, it's my belief that the leaders of the world are in fact Luciferian, and I believe many of them are even psychopathic, and actually quite evil. I believe they're quite evil. Quite a piece away from the camper now, eh? For me, I believe that this thing that they did was a dry run, and that basically, can we get that to focus? And that basically they were trying to see how far they could push people, how much support they could get from people by scaring the hell out of them, and so on. And unfortunately, most of the people buckled and complied, and were actually quite angry with those of us who didn't. Now here's the thing. I regard the mandates like the mask mandate, for example, not just as government overreach, not just as an overstepping of authority, both of which would be bad enough, and I'd probably still be resistant to them for that reason. But I also regard these mandates as evil. I believe that they're downright evil. And I believe that they are in preparation for the beast system, which is coming. And I just can't support anything that I sincerely believe is a part of that. So, there's some nice buttercups. So for that reason, I refuse to obey the mandates, even if it means death. And I do believe the time is coming, and the book of Revelation backs me up on this, when people will be put to death for refusing to go along with this new system that they wish to bring in. And so, from my point of view, if you will obey mask mandates and vaccine mandates and all the rest of it, you will probably accept the mark of the beast too. if you're obeying these things to save your life. I mean, I'm prepared literally to be judicially executed rather than to obey that system. And to me, wearing a mask is no different than wearing a sign around your neck which says, I support the beast system. And that's the reason that I will not wear one. Even if it means death, I will not wear a mask. If a police officer put a gun to my head and said, put on a mask or I'll blow your effing brains out, well, I guess I'd get my brains blown out because I would not put on a mask. Looks like the animals have had their way with the peanuts anyway. It looks like they're all gone now. These were the peanuts I put down here. Well, I can't remember when, a little while ago, but not an awful long time ago, but a little while ago. Anyway, that's the reason that I don't obey mask mandates. It's also the reason why I didn't take the jab, and so on. Now, the other thing is, in my case, because they used me as a guinea pig when I was a kid, and they won't admit it, but they did. And so, what's happened, in my case, is I don't have a lot of faith in medical people because of that. And it also means that I don't get very good treatment. It really isn't safe for me to go to a hospital, even at the best of times. In fact, when I had the pneumonia years ago, the doctors nearly killed me because they tried treating me as a psychiatric case when I had the pneumonia. When I busted my arm in 4 places, I had a nurse twisting my arm behind my back. And when I was telling her she was hurting me, my arm was broken in 4 places. When I told her she was hurting me, she said, "Oh, don't be silly." Now, thankfully, they at least did agree to do x-rays, although I had to push to have that done. I had to really fight for x-rays, but they did agree to do them eventually. And it came out that my arm was busted, and she was quite surprised when she looked at the x-ray. I heard her in the other room when she saw my x-ray. She said, "Oh my God, he really is hurt." See, that's how it is. When I refused to take antipsychotic medication for the pneumonia, Dr. Tweedy was my doctor at the time. He put in my medical record that I suffer from Munchausen syndrome. And so, because he did that, I'm not taken seriously. So, you know, he was mad at me because I wouldn't take his antipsychotic drugs to treat the pneumonia. Anyway, that's what I find myself up against. There are a lot of people in this country with similar stories. You know, Canada is not what people think it is. It really never was. And it's even less what people think it is now than it was before. You know, we're not really truly free here. We really haven't been. Some people perceive that we have been because they weren't interfered with before. But for those of us who were interfered with by the police and by doctors and everything else, we know the truth about Canada. And unfortunately, though, we get labeled mental cases by the doctors who interfered with us, and we get labeled criminals by the police who interfered with us, and so we're not believed. That's how it goes. But yeah, nowadays, more people are being interfered with, but a lot of them think that it's a recent thing, this lack of freedom, but it really isn't. It's just those people always went along until recently, so they never had to endure the wrath of the authorities here, that's all. In my case, I saw early on how corrupt things were, and so I didn't go along. And as a result, I've been in a lot of really hairy situations. But still, I do follow my conscience. I'll follow my conscience before I'll follow another man, especially a man who I regard as evil. You know, I regard our Prime Minister here in Canada as an evil man. And when he was telling us that if we did not take the shots, that meant we were racist and misogynist and anti-science, and that we take up space and shouldn't be tolerated. You know, when he said things like that, all that did was reinforce what I already believed to be true about the man and about our government in general. So, he certainly didn't do himself any favors with me, with that. But the bottom line is, it's not a recent thing. It's been going on for a very long time here, that people haven't had civil rights. They've been allowed to believe they had them as long as they were obedient. As long as they just did as they were told and like that, then they were allowed to believe they had civil rights, but they really didn't. And now people are slowly becoming aware of that, and here we are. Alright, anyway, that's my explanation. I don't go along with things that I sincerely believe are of the devil, and I do believe that whole situation is of the devil, and I believe that the mandates are of the devil, and I believe that the mandates are part of the enforcement of the New World Order system. I also will not use the self-checkout for that reason, because I believe that's a step towards the cashless society, which is part of the beast system as well. It's part of the control system of the beast system. There's a whole bunch of things that I will not do, and I do pay a price for that. I get into trouble fairly regularly. I get looked down on. I get threatened. I get, all kinds of things happen because I will not go along with this stuff that they're doing. I'd like to lead a peaceful life. I'd like to be able to call the police if somebody's committing a crime against me. I'd like to be able to go to the doctor if I'm sick or hurt. But if doing those things means going against my conscience, if I have to do things that go against my conscience, if I have to prostitute myself to an evil system, then I won't do it. And I'll just absorb the consequences of that, you know. And the consequences of that are severe, and it probably does mean that I'll die earlier. But as I said earlier, in my situation, I don't get good care